Hi, everyone, and welcome to Truth Camp. I'm your host, Crystal Gaznichek, with my co-host and wife, Sarah. We believe that there is something you can learn from everyone and want to help share these truths to help inspire and motivate. Thank you for spending time with us today. Now let's get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Truth Camp. We're here today with my lovely wife, Sarah, and Butter Biscuits, and a special surprise guest. Lisa Mort is back, and I think from the first season, you had the most views. So I wanted to bring you back for a special episode. It's kind of a surprise. We were leading up to it. Me and Sarah had an ayahuasca ceremony, and we thought it would be appropriate to bring Lisa back to kind of interview us and ask us questions about it.
So Sarah and Crystal are now in the hot seat.
Yeah. So we're in the hot seat instead of just asking each other questions. So Lisa, if you want to take over some.
Okay. So you know what? Let's just jump right in. Obviously, everybody knows you guys. So I don't think we have to have introductions here. So I got this nice list of all the questions to ask you because I'm obviously not a podcast host. So I had to do a little research on how to ask questions. Okay. So this is honestly what I want to start with. What made you want to do ayahuasca?
Do you want to start or you want me to?
I'll start. I don't care. I was curious and talking to you. And I mean, this started, 2019 when we first started talking about it?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was just the curiosity of it, the healing benefits, the idea of condensing years of therapy into a single ceremony, or multiple ceremonies, and just being really, really curious for me.
Okay.
For me, I think for watching your experience and seeing the changes that you implemented after, and I knew you before, but I feel I knew you from almost a distance. I feel before. Afterwards, it felt like this wall crashed down, and I could really see you. And I think you and Brittany both were a big part of that draw, because I knew Brittany very close too, and seeing her changes, and I was just right. Wow, this is something big. I can tell the changes there. It isn't fake.
Right.
And that just drew me in. I was I knew there was things I wanted to work on, and I waited a little while just because I think the opportunity didn't present itself, and whenever it did, I was all in.
Yeah. Okay, so how about we go right into it? What's all in? What was all in? What was your experience of all in ayahuasca?
For me, I think one of the biggest takeaways that I actually wasn't expecting was the part of surrendering. I think a lot of people have problems with control. You think you're in control of your life, and I think sometimes we hold on too tight because the fear. So I think just learning to just submit and let be whatever happens. I think that medicine definitely spoke to me in that way. And it actually, because we did 2 ceremonies back to back, and the first night, I think that was what it was teaching me, because it was kind of hard. I didn't really, I feel get as far in as the second night. The second night, it just took me out. Yeah. And I think
in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way. And that surrendering definitely played a part. That was the part that
Okay, I want to ask you this, because the word surrender and letting go is such a popular word. How the hell do you do that? Honestly, when you say surrender, a lot of people that haven't experienced ayahuasca are going to sit here and be like, what do you mean surrender? What do you mean let go? What did that feel like to you?
For me, it was just letting my body just be, letting whatever came up. Like, instead of trying to control my thoughts, instead of trying to control the situation or anything, it was just like really relaxing and just like being with myself.
Okay. Yeah. So could it be a form of acceptance, of accepting this is what it is, accepting seeing your truth and not fighting it? Surrender's such a hard, it's such a hard thing to understand, and unless you've experienced surrender, it's so hard to understand. And this is, I like hearing what everybody's definition of surrender is, because it's so different for everybody.
Yeah, and I'm sure that plays a part of what you need, which is like, I think one of the coolest things we've talked about, like with the plant medicine itself, is I think it's so neat that a plant that's growing can speak so differently to everyone's needs. And like you had a completely different experience than me, but I think it was just what we both needed. And I think anytime you take it, I think it would be a different experience every time and what you need, because it's ever changing.
Right. Different layers. What about you?
So not what I expected. Like, again, from talking with you and, you know, our own like private research, I completely was just like, all right, this is going to fucking suck. And it's going to be like really hard. It's probably going to be like, I actually thought, I was like, she's going to have the most beautiful, peaceful, placid experience. Like, and this is going to be pure hell for me. But I was like, I was acceptant of it. And I had the complete opposite. Like, my experience was really peaceful, really beautiful. I did not throw up. I did not get sick. I did not get emotional in a bad way. Like, I experienced no negatively connotated emotions whatsoever, which was hilarious to me. But
Agreed.
I'm like,
To all of us.
yeah, I'm like I remember laughing, like giggling at one point, and I'm like, you fucker. Like, this is, and I actually kind of felt a little bit guilty because everyone is literally like vomiting. Like, it sounds, you can't even imagine, and not to scare anyone. I mean, it's just, you would think there's going to be a room filled with vomit, and it's not that. It is just this retching sound, or people who are crying, or, you know, they're moaning. Everyone's going through that, and then I was just chill. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed my experience, but it is like a submission. Like, anytime I started to feel nausea or like upset, it was kind of like my cue, like, relax. And relax in that I get curious and I try to control, like lucid dream. Like, I want to, like, let's go this way. Let's check this out. But it wouldn't let me. So if I started to try to lead, it would make me nauseated. And I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm out. And it would go away. And I would sigh and feel great. And then just go on this little journey.
Sigh is a form of a purge.
Which I did a ton of sighing. A ton of yawning.
And you still have been, we were talking about that. She's been sighing a lot. She used to, like, at night, you would snore every once in a while. And you haven't been snoring at all. I just hear her randomly sighing.
I'm like, okay, that's an upgrade.
So what we're saying is ayahuasca cured your snoring.
It didn't cure mine.
Which I don't even know I'm doing it. I have no clue that I'm doing it. You just said, I'm like, oh, okay. My dreams are wild now.
Yeah, mine have been too.
More so than they were before, but they're good. There's no death. No
yeah,
one's dying.
You always had really destructive dreams before.
Which I thought, well, I guess I shouldn't even say dreams. They were nightmares in hindsight, but I didn't consider them that. But no one's dying. I'm not killing anyone. You're not divorcing me. The house isn't burning down.
Which, listen, that's a whole other podcast, because we could sit here and analyze every single one of those dreams before and after ayahuasca.
Oh,
those
yeah.
Dreams show up because they're showing something that you aren't surrendering to in your life, and it shows up through death, destruction. It's showing you these parts of your life, it's time to let them go, but it shows up in things that scare us, like murder. But what's behind that, what happened when you went in through ayahuasca, you released that.
via a sigh.
Yeah, but you released it in your subconscious, so now it's not showing up in your subconscious anymore, which is really cool.
Yeah, it is nice to have nice dreams.
Yeah.
And not fucked up ones.
Yeah.
This is what normal people dream like?
Yeah, I'm like, no, these are totally dreams. She's like, no, those are nightmares. You're having. I'm like, oh, okay.
She didn't even know what a nightmare was.
No, I'm like, oh,
This is just life.
this is the
She's like,
norm.
no, dreams are horrifying.
This is the baseline.
I will attest to going into this, like, I warned Sarah, because just from personal conversations, like, you know, knowing each other on a deeper level, I'm like, this is gonna fuck your shit up.
Yeah, you're like, you should be
So-
scared.
Just go into it. And when I would look over and I'm throwing up and I'm looking and she's giggling and I'm thinking, damn you. What the heck? Wait a minute. Something's not right here. She's supposed to be my like partner in pain.
I totally prepared myself. I was like, you're going to be just like Lisa. And I think I said that to you multiple times. I'm like, this is going to be just like Lisa. I'm going to throw up just like Lisa did. And
But you were totally okay with her.
I will, yeah, I was
Yeah.
totally.
So, and that's, I honestly believe that you went in, and even how Tamara had talked about going in without the fight. Mm-hmm. You went head in, like, here I am.
Yeah.
You know, and subconsciously, I go in with, oh no, I'm going to show you who I am. I go in with the fight, not even, and that's something I learned this past time too. It only took 21 times. But I learned it.
I also think there's a possibility that it speaks to how comfortable with yourself that you are
100%.
and how much you understand yourself.
100%. That
For sure.
You hit the nail on the head on that one.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, because I think that's just part of like submission and like a good. It is what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
I think submission also is a word that scares people when they talk about it. I think a better word might be acceptance.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think people are scared to submit, but they're not necessarily scared to accept.
That's another podcast too.
so many.
I'm just playing.
Put that one in the notes.
I'll go back on
And
topic.
Tamara is the
Shaman.
shaman that was at the experience, just for anyone who didn't
Also,
understand that
Tamara is a
reference.
teeny tiny little woman. Like, she looks
80
like a
pounds
little
soaking
fairy.
wet.
She's short. She's petite. She's super thin. She's the tiniest little thing. And
The beautiful
Yeah.
sounds that came out of her, like during the ceremony, just like the music, and she would like.
she's like a different person.
It was so awesome to be like a part of that and
Yeah.
just hear that going
Yeah.
on.
She's awesome.
Yeah, she really is.
She really is. I'm so glad she came into our lives.
and
Yeah,
she's
do
so
I.
cute too. She was just so like,
Yeah, you wouldn't believe she delivers such a powerful.
Yeah.
oh
You know,
no.
like, because she's so kind and loving and gentle and sincere, you know, and but what she delivers is like, we're gonna clear you of everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. So what was your biggest surprise about ayahuasca? What happened that maybe you didn't expect?
For me, I guess that second night. So my first night, I was very coherent, like I said, and I could like walk around pretty much the whole time. I did puke that first night. But the second night, I was fine until the second dose. And then whenever I went downstairs to the bathroom and came back up, and I could tell, I just felt like I was going to fall over. Like I felt like I couldn't stand up anymore. And that was like the first moment I had that. So I was like, lay down, like right now. And once I laid on my mat, it just, everything changed from that moment on. It was like, I saw these flashing lights, like, Tamara ended up coming over to me because I think my energy was just like stuck, and she must have felt that. And tobacco is like a cleansing thing. So she was blowing tobacco on like my neck and my back and my stomach. And I just had this emotional break. Like I started sobbing, like it was, and I meant now I can look back, I really think it's just was suppressed emotions that I just held in for so long. And I've talked to like Lisa about this. I'm sure everyone can tell on the podcast, I'm a positive person, and that's a good trait to be, but I think that also sometimes dismisses how you like really feel about things, and then I'm not really processing the emotions I consider negative, like anger and like fear, sadness. I always try to look at the bright side of things. So it really showed me that those emotions got stuck, and I need to deal with those when they do come up, and not just overlook it and think everything's just sunshine and rainbows all the time.
Yeah, there's something that is called toxic positivity, but this is what we live in, the world we live in. What do we learn? What are they telling us all the time? When you're thinking something bad, think opposite. Always think good, always think good, always think good, always think good. Change your thoughts, change your patterns, which is really important. However, it's also teaching us not to feel the bad things.
Yeah.
And we teach people not to feel the bad things. We don't like to be around people when they're feeling bad things, so we want to make them feel better.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's that uncomfortableness. Like, even with you talking about it, like when other people would come to me, I wanted to make them feel better too. It's just like that uncomfortable feeling. Yes. And sometimes you just have to sit in that.
You just have to sit in it. And that's what you got to experience.
Yeah.
And sometimes we've been programmed so much that we have to have something that will take our guard down and not allow us to put that wall back up. Because if somebody would ask you, like, would you recommend ayahuasca? Would you recommend ayahuasca? Do you think it's for everybody?
No, not probably for everybody.
Yeah, me too. Some people can do it without it.
Yeah.
I think everybody would do good with ayahuasca, but there are some people that could do good without it. What about you?
And I don't think some people are ready either.
That's what
definitely.
I think it is for everybody when you're ready. Like, I think even if you are a person, like, you think you're super well-rounded, you think you process everything, you think you feel everything, like, whatever, you still have something to benefit from it, but it's when you're ready to experience that. So, yeah, I think for everybody.
Yeah.
The mind is really powerful too. Like, if you're going into it thinking it's not going to work, it's not going to work. Like, I think that's even just with like holistic medicine and stuff too. If you're already like, I'd rather take this medical, like this, what the doctor's prescribing me over this, then you're already in a mindset where it's not going to work. Right. You shouldn't even try it.
Right.
But that was one thing that I loved about Tamara is there were some people who were very stuck. And she was able to like frame it like, hold on before you shut down.
Right. Think
about, like, and they were sharing their experience, what they were seeing, what they were feeling. And she was able to frame it for them so that they didn't shut down, which was a huge beneficial part of doing it with a shaman and not getting a hold. Group. Yeah, smaller group, not getting a hold, which I'm sure there's ways to get a hold of it yourself. But if you didn't have that guidance, you would probably just shut down when things got too difficult.
Yeah, the guidance is key. Sometimes without that guidance, you can get lost in the visual journey because everything comes to us in analogies. We think, hey, I want the answers. And I've talked with other people that have had ayahuasca journeys, and they're like, I didn't get any answers I wanted. I didn't get anything. And I was like, well, tell me about your journey. And they're telling me about all the visuals that they had, this and this. I'm like, that's because our brain doesn't speak English. Our brain doesn't speak in words. Mm-hmm. Our brain speaks in pictures and analogies. So part of even the integration of ayahuasca is that you can learn to decipher what you saw. There's a message behind it. There's a meaning. But if you're not willing to dive into that afterwards, it'll be like, I didn't get anything. No, she's not going to sit here and say, listen, you need to have $10,000 in the bank account. Then you need to go do this. Then you need to go do this. That's not how ayahuasca works.
That is literally why I was giggling to myself, because I was picturing somebody doing that. Like, should
Yeah.
I take the new job or not?
Right. And people, you can go in and ask the questions, and you'll hear people say, I didn't get my answer. You did get your answer. However, your mind wasn't open to receive the analogy of what was shown to you.
You didn't know how to interpret it.
It might not be
that's-
the answer you needed at that moment.
It might not be the answer you wanted.
or wanted. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And that
Nope, absolutely not.
that happens a lot too. That's not the answer I wanted. And the other thing too is a lot of times things will show up that make absolutely no sense because you don't need that knowledge right now. Like one of the really trendy words right now are downloads. We're getting downloads. When you're in ayahuasca, you get downloads that right now your body might not resonate with. The vibration of you doesn't resonate with that answer yet, but you're given the information. So when you are in that resonance, now you have your answer,
Which that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you and I, we talked a little bit this week about that, and another person that went on the retreat with us was experiencing, we're almost identical experiences, post.
Yeah.
And we were said, normally I'm a reclusive person. I don't really like people, but I want to be reclusive now, not because I'm people. I feel it's a nothing. It's neither positive nor negative. Just, I don't want to do that. I'm okay. I just,
it no longer resonates.
It no longer resonates with me. It no longer serves me. There's people that I don't want.
But your defenses and stuff have been down. You haven't
it's
been,
not I'm not defensive
agitated.
about it. Just, okay, cool. You didn't want to give energy. I don't want to give energy for that. It's fine. But it's wild because I'm wow, I really want to just be away from everything.
Before it was hiding.
Yes.
Now
it's just, no, I'm cool. I just don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But it's nice too. Again, with the group, we can talk about it and you're oh,
yeah,
me too.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what's so important about the integration afterwards. And I feel that's something that I missed in the beginning because I came home. I didn't even know what integration was, and to be able in a group, to just see everybody communicating together and sharing experiences. Everyone was oh my gosh, everything I'm feeling is absolutely normal. This is normal. It's okay. It might not be what I expected, but this is the process that I'm in. And now I see Sarah's going through that too. So Sarah, what are you doing to help you through that as well? So when you do ayahuasca, it's so important to have that support group, that whichever way you can find it, but it makes such a difference.
You probably felt kind of alienated after your first time because you were definitely one of the first people in our area to have done a ceremony.
Yeah.
So you probably felt pretty alone.
Yeah. The only positive thing at the time is I was doing a lot of hair. I had a lot of clients. So every single person that came in my chair wanted to hear about what I'd went through. So I got to tell my story over and over and over and over and over and over and over. So that was a benefit. Some people don't have that. Where people already knew I was crazy. So they're tell us about the craziness. Yeah. I mean, and in the same, and it helps the more you get to talk about it. But what where I felt alienated is that I had no one to talk about what I didn't understand.
Yeah.
So what does this mean? What does this mean? And that's probably why I had to go do it so many times, to be oh, I see the pattern in this now. I understand that now. I see. Maybe like that. Maybe not. I'll do it for the rest of my life. But we have lifetimes of crap to get rid of.
Well, that's even the training from a young age, even when you were saying about people telling you to look at the bright side or whatever, even sayings like that, I know everybody has heard, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
Right.
That should not be true whatsoever. If something's bothering you, talk about it. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, that's just absurd.
Yeah.
Like, don't just be an asshole. Yeah, you can say that. That's a much better message, even though it has the word asshole in it. Just say it.
Yeah.
But But if something is bothering you or something isn't right, you should definitely talk.
Right. And there's also a way to do that. And that's where, instead of even teaching people how to talk about we can face our negative emotions in a very healthy way. And we're not taught at all to do that. So now when people are facing negative emotions, we come across, there's so many different words they're going to call us when we come across saying blah, 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 but it's because we've never even been taught how to have that conversation. Listen, you're making me feel really uncomfortable. It's not you, but I'm really uncomfortable in this situation. But instead, what we have been taught to is don't say anything, don't rock the boat, and then
That's
it
life,
builds
bud.
and it builds. Yeah, right. It builds and it builds and it builds and it builds, and then you're thinking, listen, she is a bitch. Because we've never been taught how to have the communication. We were taught to sit down and shut up.
Yeah, no boundaries. You don't get to have you don't get to have any boundaries.
Right. And now we're seeing boundaries though, which I feel is so important. It's huge. We need to have them, but now it's to the extreme. Now there's disrespect with boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have to do this. Like when you have a job, unfortunately, you do have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be things you don't like.
You can say, this is my boundary, you're crossing my boundary, but guess what? Like, we are here to also to be able to function in a world that's not right. And so how do we take this? How do we set our boundaries, but understand that there's also a thing of compromise? We're still made to compromise.
And it's
too.
not using boundaries as a manipulation tactic.
Yes.
Where, like, if you teach someone,
Which happens a lot.
A lot.
Of course.
A lot.
But, like, an example in the workplace would be, like, I don't like you as a person. But I'm not going to be a dick and be like, I don't like her, so my boundary is we cannot be around each other. We can't. No. As outside of your workplace, if you don't want to fuck with that person, your boundary is I don't fuck with you outside of here. Right. But in your job, you maintain a level of professionalism. And I think if you don't allow people, people have to learn appropriate boundaries and not weaponizing boundaries. Like you said, you still have to function, you still have to do things, but you're allowed to put a boundary. I don't want to talk about this at work, or I don't want to talk about this at this time. That's a boundary. Not, I don't ever want to talk about that because that makes me uncomfortable.
Right.
That's a weaponized boundary.
Well, I think some people too are afraid to hurt people's feelings, and because a lot of people take things personally when sometimes it's not personal at all.
Right.
It's just a boundary.
Right.
But unfortunately, the way to help them with that is also to still talk about it.
Yeah.
Is to go through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because to just be like, well, they're not comfortable with that, so we just don't talk about
Yeah,
it. That's
that
not
makes it
helping them
worse.
at all.
Yeah, it's not. No, right. It's definitely making it worse.
And another way to help that is to go do ayahuasca.
And another way is to go do ayahuasca, because then all your boundaries are just thrown to hell, because there are no boundaries with ayahuasca. Anything can show up in that. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
But I think it made me understand people, but it's one thing to say, when this person, when this situation happens or a person does something, this has nothing to do with you. Mm-hmm. To say that, but then to understand that is completely different. And I thought, in theory, I understood it, but now I really understand it. I'm like, yeah, that has absolutely nothing to do with me. So through doing ayahuasca, I realized when things are provoking, just the theory of it has nothing to do with you didn't work for me.
Yeah, right.
I still was trying to figure it out, and now it's you're not going to figure it. It has nothing to do with you.
Right.
So don't waste your time.
Right.
So
that's a huge clarity.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge clarity.
That's something I have a hard time with, letting go of trying to understand why somebody can be the way they are, do the things they do. I have a hard time letting go. I'm not going to understand it.
No, go do ayahuasca and then you won't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Right.
It's great.
And then every now and then,
You do seem very alleviated. I'm not going to lie. Ever since you went, you seem way more.
I'm always trying to think.
Yeah.
I want to know.
Same.
I like that. I like knowing, but it was collective me. My whole experience was clarity. Mm-hmm. And I know for a lot of people, they don't get clarity.
Right.
I got nothing but. So for me, it's just, I am very unbothered even though like some things can get me hyped up because a bitch still loves a good cup of tea. I want to know the drama. I want to know, but I can like de-escalate so quickly because I'm like, yeah, it's done and over. Like that, I don't even have the desire to try to understand it. I'm like, trauma.
Yeah.
That's it. Trauma. And I don't care anymore. So, I mean, I would love that for you because it just scratched that itch for me, and it is gone.
A lot of times too, what we don't realize is when we are in that place that we put ourselves there so we don't have to think about ourselves, and we don't have to think about what we're going through and what's on our mind. It goes in so many directions too. Like that can even be in the showing up as I want to help other people. But it is this, when you are taking things personally as to what the other person's doing, where is your focus at? On the other person. Really, it should be turned around internally, but it's easier to focus on what they're doing than what
instead of
I'm
like, why
doing.
is it triggering me?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is it? And this is these last 2 journeys I've had. This has been a huge one. I'm glad you brought that up. That I've had to sit with is I've been shown this mirror. Every time I'm getting pissed off at people, it's showing me, you do this. You do this. You don't like this about yourself. That's why it's pissing you off about them. And when you start seeing what you don't like in another person by what you don't like in yourself, it's like, you know, it is. It's so humbling, but it's part of the work. You know, like that mirror work, man. That's something. You know, in the ayahuasca journeys, you're not always going to find an answer or clarity like Sarah did, but sometimes you're shown the path. And the path is, look at yourself. Look at yourself. And it is humbling, man. It'll like kick you in the stomach over and over, but that's all part of the journey. Like that's what we signed up to do. We're all here to get rid of it.
I feel like it kind of like gets rid of like gets the dust off of things. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's just, we're going to clean the shit up. We're going to get the dust off of things. We're going to make it really clear for you to see. And like some people might have to like wait for like a download or you know whatever, but you were probably emotionally intelligent enough to know like, hey, if I don't like something about someone, it probably has something to do with me, but you couldn't quite see it.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
No,
that took a while. Like I saw that as things that pissed me off. Like I was so detached from myself. I had unplugged from myself. I had no connection to myself. I was empty. I was an empty shell. There was nothing. Like, and I didn't realize that until I started filling back up. I didn't realize how much of an empty shell I was. So when I saw something I didn't like, there was no mirror because I couldn't see me.
Do you think that's why your ayahuasca journeys have been so tough on you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Most definitely. It has been like, it brought me back to life. I don't know. Like, I guess, you know, if someone's, you got to get, what are those electric shock panels? You know, those things that I'm sure that hurts like hell if that has that done, but it brings you back to life. Sorry.
It literally brings you back to life. He's like, what?
It brings you back to life. It brings you back to life, you know, and that's, so yeah, that I've probably had to do so many of them because I was so deep in a depression that I didn't know how to get out of. And I had no self-worth, and I had no confidence, and I didn't know how to talk to people, and I became that actress that I gave people what they wanted. I was such a chameleon. I was a chameleon. I wasn't me. I was a chameleon. I could be whatever that person needed me to be. That is not healthy at all, but I didn't know.
It did the same thing for me with my emotions, like even breath work now is so different for me prior to like I feel so much more in my body. Like I never like even today I went this morning and just like the sensations and the warmth and stuff, like I never was that in tune with myself until after ayahuasca.
It plugs you back in.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's hard. sometimes the journey after ayahuasca is hard. Honestly, the journey after ayahuasca is harder than the actual journey on ayahuasca as time goes through, because now you have to sit with what you learned, and you have that choice. Do I keep making those same mistakes, or do I take what I was shown and move forward with it?
Yeah, like I know, like for us too, like we want to be around different people.
Yeah.
We only want to be around certain people. We, you know, it's, I know going forward, it's going to change, you know, it'll change relationships. It'll change the way like socializing looks. I mean, fortunately we have like a really awesome group of friends, but like, you know, we weren't drinking.
Our desires.
I can't even tell you the
Yeah.
last time I had a sip of alcohol, but like that is a hard, just absolutely no go.
Right.
I really liked cannabis. I still do. I think it's great. I have zero desire, and it's been weeks, and I have zero desire, not for anything like bad.
She says with a 420 hat on.
Yep. I'll still support it. But I have no desire. Caffeine,
Yeah.
zero desire for caffeine. Like, and it's not even like, you know how some people like they do like a detox and then they're on that high, like I'm not going to do this anymore, like that. It's ego. Where now it's just
100%.
like I can't put those shoes on anymore. Like it just doesn't,
It doesn't
it's not going to
resonate.
do anything for me.
Like for me with alcohol, it definitely, like I saw that a lot of times I would use it as like if I was uncomfortable in a like
Yes.
situation, instead of like, and so I feel like now I can realize I'm being uncomfortable, and if I need to get myself out of it, I get myself out of it.
Yeah.
Like instead of choosing
Yes.
alcohol.
Or even knowing it's okay to just be uncomfortable.
Or yeah.
Like it's okay
And
to be
feel that,
uncomfortable.
yeah.
Everybody sitting around at that table is feeling uncomfortable at some level. You know, like it's okay. It's okay to be uncomfortable.
And that uncomfort might actually be a message that your body or your mind is trying to tell you
Yes.
about something that's happening
Yeah.
or somebody that's
Yeah.
there or any number of things.
Right.
So drowning it out and ignoring it is probably not the best idea, period.
Yeah. Yeah. I hadn't drank in so long. Probably since I've started doing ayahuasca, I might have drank twice. Like, and the other night we went out to dinner and I had a glass of wine. On half a glass of wine, I was bombed. I was like, what the heck is this? It's time to go home.
And we're done.
And I remembered this is why I don't like that feeling.
Yes.
I don't even like
Yeah.
that feeling. It's like,
It's so like we were talking about, like it's a bring you downer.
Low
And
vibration.
Low vibration.
Low vibration.
We're so like, I just feel like we're like up a level.
Yes,
That you
it
don't
is.
want anything to fuck with that. Like, I mean, for me, I don't want anything that's gonna fuck with that. Like,
and right now too, like, what are we, 2 weeks out?
Yeah.
So ayahuasca stays in your system for about a month. So that vibration, your vibration is elevated for about a month. So especially in the 2 weeks afterwards, but even going into the month, it's so important not to introduce low vibrational things into your system, because she is still in there listening. You know, so you're still resonating with her. And then you'll see, like, it'll be and it was right about after a month. Then it was like, all right, you might want to smoke a joint, but it's not for the same reason
Yeah.
as before. You know, it's
Yeah.
not for the same reason. Your things change, your ideas change. It's like, okay. You know, but for about a month, we are just at this high vibration. And it's like, man, let's get everything we can get done within that month while we're at that space. You know? It's cool.
it's different. Like it, but I think too, what's nice is we have so many people to go through it with.
Yeah.
And like,
And
that-
we have each other. It's nice
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
accountable with each other. and-
Definitely. Just on that everyday basis.
Yeah.
yeah, I couldn't imagine how hard it would be to like do this, like, and not have the other people in my house have gone through it, and then like it would just piss me off, like watching someone else drink. That it would be irritating to me, because then I would be like, oh, like we experienced that over this past holiday, being around someone who was drinking, and how obnoxious it was,
Right.
and like what it, like it just, we were like, we're done. We're done with this. Like, we're not like playing games with this anymore. Like, we're out, because it killed the vibe. Like, it was, so I couldn't imagine having that in my household, let alone having to experience it for like 2 hours.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be really hard to be in a relationship for one of you to be on a journey and the other one not to be. That would be a really
challenging. Yeah.
That would be really challenging. That would be really challenging.
Yeah, I don't know how people would be able to do that. Well, I would be a little afraid for some people. I mean, I know whatever's meant to happen is going to happen. I believe that, but I think I would be a little afraid for some people that you might have some realizations that, like, this person obviously isn't going to progress with me. So then what do you do? Or accepting that person is just going to be who they are and can you handle it?
And sometimes ayahuasca allows that acceptance, not only for yourself, but of others too. Like, and I feel like that's what love actually is. Is loving somebody for who they are and being okay with knowing this is who you are. And I'm going to love you here, but I'm going to still plant seeds. I'm going to still plant the seeds, but I feel like real true love would withstand it. But maybe love out of convenience wouldn't.
Yeah,
which
I agree with
a lot of people are in is love out of convenience.
I agree
not
with
wanting
that.
to be alone. Yeah. It's cool to do it as a couple though. Like, it was on the outside of it was like really awesome watching the two of you do it too. And the space that you allowed each other to have.
Oh, listen, don't get it twisted. I would have been right up under her ass if I had the opportunity.
Yeah, I know.
So that kind of sucked because we were separated.
But you followed suit, Sarah. Anything else, you'd be like, fuck you, I'm doing what I want.
Well, I recognize that if I didn't, I wouldn't have had the experience that I had because I would have been so involved with her.
Yeah, so don't discredit yourself for that.
I listened to a rule and I wasn't happy about it. But I listened. But yeah, I mean, I would have been I would not have had the same experience at all.
It was really cool though. Like, every now and then, I mean, I was just even though I was in complete hell, I was also in complete joy at the same time, just getting to experience all of it. And every now and then I would see one of you like look over at the other just to see, are they okay? Are they okay? And usually it was Crystal, because Sarah's head was under the cover.
I don't know what I was doing. Some bangs. I don't know. I felt like our side was like the little cocoon side.
Yes.
Like there were 3 or 4 of us right here. Every one of us was. Yeah. We were in our own.
Yeah, we were in our own. We were definitely.
Yeah, I don't know what happened in that corner of the room, but we were somewhere.
Yeah. Speaking of that corner, so what else did we do? What's the other one?
Wachuma.
What do you?
What's
you
loved
feeling?
Wachuma.
Oh, yeah, I loved Wachuma.
Listen, I would voluntarily
vomit.
She was like, yes.
I would voluntarily take the taste of ayahuasca over Wachuma any fucking day.
Oh, not me. Oh, give me the Wachuma.
Listen, everyone's like, ayahuasca tastes so terrible. I did not think it tasted terrible.
Ayahuasca tastes very terrible.
Oh, I didn't think it did either.
It tasted like figs. Like
crazy.
Like plum, figgy.
Okay, and in all fairness, I'm going to tell you why it did. Because you got to eat a little bit of fruit afterwards.
The first night.
Don't ruin my theory.
The first night I did not do anything with it because I was scared that I was going to vomit. I thought that fucking grape was going to make me puke. And I was like, I'm not taking any chances. Like, I'm doing good. But the second night, I didn't like the lingering sensation in my mouth. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm hitting these grapes up. I don't care if I puke.
Yeah.
But to me, it just like dates, figs. Like, that's what it tasted like, a burnt date. I can handle that. But Wachuma tasted fucking awful.
And you had to like,
and it was
in the
texture.
It was like thick.
See, that's what ayahuasca does to me. Just even saying the word makes me want to, like, I feel it coming up.
It was like, I understand, but I also had to laugh at this because Tamara, she's Wachuma, they call it like grandfather.
Yeah.
It is a masculine plant. It's Wachuma is the grandfather. So she goes, I just want you to experience how grandfather tastes. And instantly I'm like, I don't want to know how Pap tastes, respectfully. And that's
Pervert.
That's all I could think of. And I'm laughing because I'm like, okay, I tasted him. I don't like him. We're done. And I just kept wishing, like, can we just put this in a capsule?
She's been like, I'm a lesbian. I don't.
Yeah. So that's
I'm done with that.
And I should have known right then and there. That was the whole precursor to all that Wachuma did to me, was make me want to be a bad fucking little kid. I was so ornery.
You were.
Like, that's just super ornery.
Like pushing stuff off the counter.
Yeah.
I mean, if you would have, like,
they had the giggles like so hard in their corner. It was so funny to watch.
Which is so out of character for me in these kind of settings.
So bad.
You were so cute.
I was laughing so hard, like my bellies and cheeks hurt.
Yeah, I hurt. Like, you know when you laugh real hard and then you just, that's, my face hurt.
And I would look over at you too and I'd be like, oh, stop, because people are pouring their heart out and I'm here, tears, just laughing. So
I had a terrible pressure headache too, but I'll have to set the scene because it's just too funny. Like, you're in this sharing circle, you know, we're in this big beautiful room, lofted ceiling, these beautiful windows, and you know, one at a time people were speaking.
Oh, I actually know the room now that I think about it.
Yes, you do know that.
Yeah.
So one at a time people were speaking, and the first two people are speaking. I mean, it can make you very emotional, like in a good way. I mean, people are sobbing, and then all of a sudden there's just cracking up belly laughter. And I'm like, oh my God, because the people that are laughing are going to make me laugh. And for whatever reason, I feel the urge to laugh.
Yeah.
And I'm not paying. And I'm like, fuck, they're fucking crying. This is a really vulnerable moment. And then we're fucking cracking up. And Tamara, she comes over and she's like, okay, I think you need to sit up. And I'm like, oh, we just got in trouble. We just got in so much trouble. But I mean, we were right there in the same room and having these
completely different
vastly different
it
experiences.
Was, and I know, like, for whatever reason, ayahuasca is very dark and down, like the underworld. I go to the underworld with ayahuasca, and Wachuma brought me to the sky people. So I was like on the clear, and like the sky people were talking to me, you know,
and you're like,
and they're coming down, and I'm like, come on.
Yeah, I kept seeing your hands like go in different directions.
Come on, keep talking. But I remember looking at you and then looking over, I'm like, I'm in the Millennium Falcon right now. I was Princess Leia.
And we're just like, oh, God bless her. Look at her go. Look at her go.
Which was just so opposite of what the night before was.
It's probably just what you needed.
Well, and that was a nut. I think every ayahuasca journey should end with Wachuma. No. Because it brought the heaviness and the darkness, it brought light to it. Like, the Wachuma allowed me to understand my last 20 journeys. Like, it made so much sense, you know. One of the biggest things that came out to me this time was, like, I asked her, I'm like, why are you so mean to me? Like, why are you so brutal? What else do I have to give? Like, and I just I was dying. I was physically dying again. And I was like, what else do I have to give? And she point blank out looked at me in my mind and said, how many times I have to take you through hell for you to see how beautiful your life is? And I was like, well, I'll be damned. Obviously 21 times. But I get it. I finally get it. Like, my life is good. My life is good. I
feel like you want to be like, you could have told me sooner.
I mean, or it was like, couldn't you just say, honey, your life's so good?
Yeah. How about a hug?
No, because then you would have been like, yeah, I know. Yeah.
But it's, you know, but Wachuma brought me to that place where it was like, the grandmother had to be the one scolding you, ayahuasca, and then the grandfather was like, come on. Mm-hmm. Now let's go walk and let's go see.
Listen, that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah, it was so nice to be outside.
I was happy when we got a chance to have more movement. Like,
yeah. I was in the sky, so there was
you
no
weren't
walking
moving.
for me.
You weren't moving, but the second we were like, and I understand because like, to be facilitated, like you're in charge of people, so you got to make sure you can have eyes on people.
Oh, not at that moment.
Well, she didn't have to worry about you. You're not going anywhere. But I mean, like as a group, like we were.
Lisa was up with the sky
time.
people.
Like after we would do the ceremony, you'd sit with it, and then we were like given time to like go, move about, whatever. Oh my God, I just wanted that the whole time. Like I would have felt better. Like
I think I would have a hard time sitting there. Somebody did. Like I've done mushrooms plenty of times, but somebody actually tried to do like a ceremony with me, and that was all fine, well and good for the beginning, like when we were taking it. But then I need to go.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm freaking out. Like
you want to move.
I ended up walking around this neighborhood. I probably shouldn't just been walking around the neighborhood, but I had to walk around the neighborhood just like talking into my like voice recorder.
Yeah.
Just about stuff that was popping in my head, and that was a great experience for me.
Right.
But if I would have just sat there in the dark the entire time, I would have lost my mind.
I felt that way like during the first ayahuasca night. Like I felt like everyone else was so deep in, and I was so like just aware. During the dance party thing, most of them there was like a dance party in the morning.
But I'm always up for a dance party.
And literally
after that.
half of the people didn't even know it happened.
I didn't even know.
I was like so wide awake. I ended up going because she said we could move around. Then I went outside and it was like raining, and
that was one different thing too. Like, and partly our weather wasn't the best.
Yeah.
So that did kind of limit it. But even when I was in Costa Rica, one thing, there was perimeters. So we were allowed to go lay in the ground. We were allowed to look up at the stars. We were allowed to sit around the bonfire. So if I would say, if one thing that would be different that I missed would be that. Mm-hmm. I liked being outside looking at the stars when you're on ayahuasca. Like there's just something about that, But again, the weather just didn't
end up being like 20 degrees.
That and you don't want to like.
Snow.
I'd have sat right in that bitch.
We did.
On Sunday we did. Yeah. One
but you
thing
don't want
that
people
was really cool about there was such a huge analogy. So the house that we had sat on top of this really big hill that overlooked the lake, and the whole reason for the house was because of the scene. Beautiful. It's gorgeous. The first 3 days we were there, the fog was so thick you couldn't see out the window. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's crazy.
It almost felt like you were in a submarine. Like, like that.
Yeah.
It was so thick, and I just kept sitting there thinking, the whole reason for this house was this, and we're not even going to see it.
When we were
on the
there,
last day, it cleared.
Nice.
And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is what this whole weekend was. How everything, our life is a fog.
Yeah.
We don't realize how much beauty is in front of us because of this fog. That same beauty was there. We just couldn't see it because of the fog. Then when the fog lifted, like all of our perceptions lifted when we were done with ayahuasca, we saw the beauty, and then we see the beauty in life. And I remember sitting there thinking, this is such an analogy for this whole weekend.
Yeah.
The beauty is there. We just can't see it yet.
It was funny because that fog was so...
Oh,
I mean, you could not see a damn thing. Like
nothing.
There was nothing. Like even during the day.
You couldn't even see the patio, like
that's crazy,
out the window.
When we were there'd be fog in the morning, but it almost felt like you were like sitting on clouds because it wasn't covering the windows. So like when you would go out and see, it would just be like the house was sitting on top of a cloud.
Yeah, no, this was like you were submerged, like a submarine.
Yeah, that's
you would
crazy.
See the fog come past the window. The cloud of it was coming through. The one night it was really cool though because
did it make you second guess your choices?
No, but it was
like, oh, this is a very dark aura.
No, I mean I was cool with it because I mean whatever. But
at night you really couldn't.
The one night I like normally for everybody on the ayahuasca, like you're not sleeping, but what did you call it? Like you're like in the in between.
Yeah,
like,
it's that dreamlike state, but
you're just in between realms, if you will. And I just remember being woken up because finally the moon came out, and it was so bright. And I could just like cock my head to the side a little bit, and I got to watch the moon for a little bit. and see how fast everything was going by. And then you would get another wave of ayahuasca and it would be like, shh, go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Like there's no control. It was just like, shh,
Yeah.
sleep, go. But it was really cool to see that. And then it snowed.
Yeah.
And we could watch the day that it cleared up. We could watch
it
the
was
snow.
so beautiful.
And it was really,
so
really
beautiful.
pretty. But I mean, at the time I was super pissed that we couldn't go outside. But in hindsight now, I'm like, there's no way you could watch all of these people, make sure no one wanders off,
Right.
gets lost.
Right. Because she is responsible for all
Yeah.
of us.
So
Yeah, you need a whole team for that.
yeah, and that was not. So I think if, we were to do it again, I would like to be outside as much.
Yeah. So when,
as
like with
physically
the
possible.
Wachuma, you're supposed to be outside the whole entire time, but because of the weather, it just didn't allow it. So
But
that
man, when we were allowed outside, that was nice.
Yeah, the what?
That was so nice. I'm like, let's go.
yeah.
It might be cool to find like an area that just has like a couple of cabins, like
Yeah.
really,
Yes.
really basic cabins,
Yep.
and then like a common area.
Yep. We've been looking.
But it was really nice the last night too, because that was the Wachuma
Yes.
night.
Yes.
Everybody, I felt like that was the most social everyone was with one another. Like it was like a group of friends, just like hanging out.
We've all known each other for a lifetime.
It wasn't
And
like
really,
heavy at all. It was
No.
very light.
It was very light.
Now the ayahuasca nights.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first night I didn't even come to bed.
You did later, I think.
Well, that was the second sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
We'll call that
sleep,
the second.
sleep and night. Those are two different things.
Yeah, it was the second sleep, but yeah, there was no getting up. There was no.
Yeah.
I definitely got a lot of clarity from Wachuma. Like it helped, like you said, bring together some of the ayahuasca stuff. I got a lot of clarity on family stuff.
Yeah.
And it's been nice to see the changes, like since I got back in relationships and stuff.
It's wild, isn't
Yeah.
it? And sometimes they're just like little things, but that makes such a big difference. Like, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I don't know how you guys refrained from talking about this the last time we recorded.
Because I feel like it's so hard, like even when we have like friends or clients that ask, and now I know how you feel, like you literally are going to sound fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like how could I sit there and tell, well, I saw dragons and snakes
Right.
and horses and a jellyfish touched me. You're going to be like, this bitch is fucking nuts. Like, but that's what the fuck happened. So I feel like unless it's just hard to talk about those things. And too, like I feel like the most of a reaction you're going to get out of someone who hasn't experienced, they'll be like, oh, like, and inside they're like,
Right.
you just trip balls. You just did drugs with your friends. And
Right.
And we heard like multiple friends do it, and I still feel like until I did it myself, you really don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
you really can't explain what
it's
really
not like
is.
I've done mushrooms too, and it's not the same.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's just
Yeah.
it's
just
from different.
Just
Yeah.
from the reading I've done, it's definitely wildly different.
Yeah. I will say though, once you've done ayahuasca, well, okay, I'm going to say this, but this is just from my own experience. Ayahuasca will visit you during anything you do.
which I'm super looking forward to.
Like she will show up. She will show up. And it's kind of wild.
I just see Sarah right now, like, oh hey babe.
I mean, that's literally like, I'm like, stop it. You're so funny. You're so funny. Like, what the fuck?
That's awesome.
And it just, seriously, the whole week prior, at least, you should be scared. I'm not saying, just, you should have respectful fear for
said
this.
respect.
Yeah, like, not be scared, like, ooh, but like, you know,
You don't know what's gonna show up.
prepared for whatever. And I just was like, I'm not feeling that. Like, it just wasn't.
Yeah.
Because I think at that point I was like, I'm going to puke, piss myself, shit myself. I'm making a mess.
Which nobody did. Nobody did. That's
No.
always that worry.
No.
Everyone's always so scared about it. There's like that
Because
fear.
you know,
but it's
when
like,
you
it
get
just doesn't.
normal, like if you get the stomach flu or something, like I'm good for puking and peeing myself because it's just, it happens. Like you're puking so hard. That did not happen. And some of the sounds that came out of people, you're like,
Uh-oh.
I mean, because I looked over at you at one point and I was like, God damn, I feel so sorry. Like, with this fucking, she's not kidding. This happens every single time.
And you had like waves.
Yeah.
Like you just would keep going.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I wasn't really, when you guys told me you were going, I really wasn't too worried about you, because a lot of people talk about it tearing down your ego, and not the ego that people think of, but tearing down your ego. And I don't think you really have a lot of ego with yourself. I think you're pretty aware of who you are, the good parts and the bad parts, and you just accept it.
In touch. She's in touch.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I really do.
Well, I feel like you can't help but, even if you think you know who you are, I guess there was part of me was just kind of like, I guess I was a little nervous for like, man, what have you repressed?
Right.
Like, is there going to be some fucking crazy shit? Because that happens to people where they remember something and I'm like, ugh. Like, I wasn't looking forward to if that happened. But then I was like, well, if it's going to happen, this is the best place for it to happen. But then when it didn't.
That was always one of my fears too. Like, if I don't remember it, do I really want to?
Yeah. Do you want to
remember it? And the same thing. Like, none of that. Nothing came up in that sense. Like, none of that.
But I think even if it did, man, that's the space to be able to move through it, because I think you'd see it and then immediately, like, you'd be able to move through it.
Yeah. Because you can't stop it.
No.
If we would witness it in our normal, like, we're in a non-ordinary state of consciousness. In an ordinary state of consciousness, we could suppress what we were feeling. In there, you just really can't.
No, it's coming up and it's happening, and you go willingly or unwillingly, but you're going.
Yeah. The next thing that I can't wait for you guys to try is Bufo.
Somebody just brought this up to me, and it was the first thing I thought of after breath work. Because I told you I saw a frog in breath work.
We're not. Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
yes, you did. Say
and
you
literally
saw a frog.
it was the first thing I thought of was Bufo.
Yeah,
I was like,
So I
Have you
can't
heard of it
wait
before?
for this.
I hadn't.
Well,
Actually, Amber told me about it, which
Yeah.
I don't think she would ever do it. But
Well, when she first told me about it, I was like, this bitch is crazy. I'm like, and then I was like, just let me get through ayahuasca first. And now I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. Like, yeah, because I mean,
Bufo's
between
a whole
10
other-
minutes to 30 minutes versus all night long.
10 minutes
Sign
that
me
feels
up.
like 5 years though. But it's still,
Yeah,
that's
I'm like,
how.
okay, cool.
That's another reason I want to try just DMT, which actually it's the same molecule.
It's the same molecule.
Yeah, it's so. Yeah,
It's a
I'm
pure
totally
form
down.
of DMT. It's what it is.
Yeah, 'cause DMT exists in everything. Most plants, your brain.
Yeah.
So
That's what you access in breath work. Just a little plug there.
yeah.
Just a little sprinkling of.
But yeah, that's I'm definitely down for that. The 15 minutes seems right up my alley.
Yeah.
But I heard it's
it
like,
was the most profound thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. Like, I still don't. We couldn't even do a podcast on that because I still don't have words to explain what I saw or felt. But all I know is I am not the same person as before that to now. But I feel like I would never been able to experience what I did if I wouldn't have done the ayahuasca. Ayahuasca got rid of my shit. Like, Bufo brought me back to my origin. If that makes sense.
when Joe talks about doing it, because he hasn't done ayahuasca, but he's done DMT a bunch of times. He says it's like you're immediately shot off to a different plane. He's like, and there's beings there. He's like, they're like, oh, you made it. and then
you start talking to those beings in another language.
Yeah, that's exactly how he described it. And he said after doing DMT, he started to look at people different. That's when he stopped getting mad at people. He said, now I think of people as like babies. Like, you were a baby and your life brought you to how you are now. Like, you're just a baby.
Well, you can see, like, some people are.
What if he did that?
Some people are evolved, and some people just are not. Right? They're not evolved at all. So you just, see people for where they're at. Like, how many lives have you lived? Like, I used to joke and say that, like, oh, they're definitely on their first life.
Right.
But now it's really like, yeah, that person just, they have not had many lives. Like, they're still
newborn.
They're figuring it out. And
Their soul's still new. Yeah.
And you can't expect something more from someone where they're at.
Right. Okay, so what question would you like to answer that I didn't ask?
Well, I don't know the questions.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. What question? No. What do you wish for the question?
She's like,
She's like, show me the list.
give me the list. Shit.
Is there a question? Let me rephrase that. Is there a question you would have liked me to ask that I didn't? And if so, what would your answer be? How to lead a podcast 101.
You actually nailed the wrap up time too.
Did I?
Like, there's so many like do you know?
Okay, well, how about I ask you a question? What was your biggest like takeaway that you learned about yourself from ayahuasca?
Okay, without sounding crazy, how old I am, because I got to see that. Like, I'm really, really old. Like, my soul is extremely old. So I got to see, like, where, I don't know if it's who I was or where I came from previously, but I get, like, flash. And then, I mean, I wanted to ask more questions, but I was immediately told, you already know. You already know the answer to all of these questions. You don't get to ask anymore. But that was really cool to see how old I was. So
that's cool.
That was a fun experience.
Yeah.
And then everything just piggybacked off of that.
Okay, what about you?
I think just that experience of like feeling how loved I am, and just how I kind of stood in the way of receiving love. Yeah. Like, that was probably one of the biggest things
That's
with
huge.
myself.
Which is so crazy to me still, because like I feel like I know you like so well, like inside and outside, and I'm just like, that's so wild to me, because you're just like, you're a fucking Care Bear. Like, if there ever was a person who's
If
a
she
Care
was
good
a
at
Care Bear,
giving,
which
though.
Care Bear would she be?
Oh, I don't know.
Lionheart.
Huh?
Lionheart.
I don't know any of
Which
the
one's
Care
that?
The lion.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
I'm Leo,
I agree
that's
with that. Was
perfect.
that the yellow one
No, I'll show
or the
you.
pink
That's
one?
the sunshine one. I think.
Lion. So Lion was only in the movie, and then very few episodes, and I know way too much about Care Bears.
Oh, well, now that I know this,
Wow.
God damn it, we're going down this rabbit hole now that I know this. But yeah, like, to me, you are.
Oh, Lionheart,
God,
yeah.
Look at that little Care Bear. Look at that one.
That is
you
cute.
little Leo. That would be-
Lionheart.
Oh, yes, it's a
Never
it's a
gonna be able to
Care
look
Bear
at you the
cousin.
same.
Strong but loving.
Yeah. There you go.
But that's how I would see. So for you to say like acceptant of like love, like, you're such a cuddly person and you're so touchy,
like, but I want to
like,
do. I'm not like good at like
Receiving.
letting people do stuff for me. It
good
makes
at
me
giving.
uncomfortable.
I mean, you're pretty demanding of tickles. So,
That's with you.
You demand to be tickled?
Yes.
You know you haven't tickled me today, right?
You're joking, but that's an exact statement that comes out of her mouth.
That actually makes me very happy.
Because
The
she's
best.
this.
I love her tickles.
This
like
is-
tickle
No,
or like,
like
tickle?
rub.
Like, because all I could think is, man, I want to punch people in the
oh yeah, fuck no.
Oh, see,
No,
I-
not like tickles.
Nice.
like
I call those pets.
Pets.
Yes.
I like that.
I like being pet.
Well, maybe if you present it to me that way, will you pet me? Yes, I'll pet
Can I
you.
be like the dogs in the house?
They just take
I have
their
to compete
turns.
with
My
8
turn.
of them, 9 of them.
Yeah, but yeah, that's
Just
very.
start
That's
nuzzling your nose under her hand.
She's gonna
I
do
just
that.
really want you to get this costume and walk in one day in the Lionheart costume.
This
I
is
will.
when we go trick or treat next year.
That's what I gotta wear.
Are there grumpy Care Bears? Because I feel like if
There's
Grumpy.
Grumpy.
Oh,
There's definitely
we
grumpy.
got tag team.
we're doing this. Yeah.
Where's
Well,
my mouse?
Dave, I need to know all about the Care Bears and which one would I be?
He's got a cloud on his belly.
Yes, he does.
Oh, that's perfect.
grumpy.
Is it the bluish one?
He is. Yeah,
Oh,
I remember
grumpy
that
Care
I
Bear.
do remember him.
Yes! Resting bitch face and everything. It's perfect.
Not gonna lie, it's what I thought of for you.
That's
We have our outfit.
Thanks for helping us.
Lisa,
I love
Lisa, Sunshine Bear.
Yeah, Lisa,
Sunshine Bear.
Lisa, careful, I'm grumpy.
Grumpy Bear. That is hysterical. Who would have thought this was going to end with a Care Bear?
I mean, I feel like it
People are going
that
to judge
was
me
not
after
in my
this
list
podcast.
of questions.
I mean, I feel like this is. I mean, it's a good. Yeah, that's you. That's 100% you.
That's hysterical.
I need to know about all the Care Bears now.
That's perfect.
That is funny.
Well, thank you, Lisa, for
Thank you.
being our interviewer and doing such an awesome
It was
job.
fun being on this side.
Asking questions.
Yeah.
I feel like we'll have to have, another show with you, and we'll have to talk about.
Yeah, we'll have to have you on again and talk about Bufo and
Bufo.
stuff, and all the updates. And if you don't know, I don't know if in the last podcast you had Compass yet.
No.
So if
No.
Lisa has a new studio, it's right next to Empowered,
Yeah.
called Compass. Check her out.
Yeah.
Go sign up for breathwork. She does semi-privates.
Yeah.
Privates.
It's actually
Private's on my private,
an amazingly beautiful space.
Yeah, you posted
And-
that today, and it was like the most
Yeah.
beautiful picture because it's magic.
Definitely coming together finally.
And like like I've said in the post, but like just to see the evolution of your process is also amazing because it's
Thank
been a
you.
while since I've
Yes.
partaken, which is sad, but it is what it is. But I will definitely be coming to Compass when you have them there,
Good.
and
Glad to have
because
you there.
it's a great experience, beautiful experience, and I'm working on putting a group together too.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you guys very much, and I'm trying to think. I don't know when this episode will come out. It'll be a surprise.
I think right before Christmas.
Right before.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Happy New
Christmas.
Year.
If we didn't have her, we wouldn't know about dates at all.
No, you can live the wild life I lead.
And
I don't know.
We'll see you guys in 2023.